let's go to some individual policy questions first. One from George Anderson. Thanks to everyone who's put in questions. Really grateful. George Anderson says, what is your intention on retaining or ending free university education in Scotland? He's interested in your policies on tuition fees, basically.
Can I just make the basic point, first of all, that having been defeated in the last election, we want to look across the range of our policies, and it would be fair to say that we were going into a process where we're refreshing our policies, and so a lot of these things, nothing sacrosanct, I said everything, nothing's off the table. I would say that I'm concerned about the First Minister's characterisation of his policy. He says, the rocks will melt before we end free education in Scotland. I was a teacher for 20 years. I know the disadvantages that some young people face. For an awful lot of people, there is no access to free education, and I think that should be the test. I am concerned too about the SNP's position of cutting further education by 20%, and it means that those young people and older people doing higher education courses in further education colleges are at disadvantage. We don't want to have financial blocks to people going to university. We want equality of opportunity, but we also have to look at access issues. So my key position in this is we don't want upfront tuition fees. We want to
do you rule that out completely?
We don't want people to be deterred from going to university to achieving. However, it's complacent to say that the current position we've got represents free education. It does not.
Would that mean that possibly there might have to be a graduate contribution to fund universities warning about the gap in provision in Scotland between Scotland and...
Well, I think we have to respond both to what the universities and colleges are saying. We also have to respond to the issue of hardship amongst students and the deterrent impact of that. And it does seem to me that it's almost beyond party, because we have to test it against a number of factors, and I do place access to higher education as a very important one. If we were establishing that for those who can go to university, they don't pay tuition fees, but at the same time our figures on access and mobility through higher education is reducing, that's a challenge for all of us across political parties.
And that might have to mean a graduate contribution from those who can afford to pay.
Well, what I've said is we need to look at the sustainability of the position we've got. Ideally, you would have free education for all. We're not in a place where we have that currently. We have seen colleges under the caution at a level at a time of economic challenge that must be unacceptable. So what we need is a mature debate around actually what the different alternatives are.
Just to be absolutely clear, that might have to mean graduate contribution.
It might have to. We look at this in the interest of students and achieving potential and access.
Now,